So Thor Love and Thunder was directed by Taika Waititi, and it stars Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson, Taika Waititi, Christian Bale. And this time around, Thor is dealing with a whole bunch of things. He's trying to track down a killer of gods. He's also hanging out with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And he's also dealing with the reappearance of his ex-girlfriend, Jane Foster, who has reemerged as Mighty Thor. So Thor's got a lot going on. So this was a movie that I was intrigued by, but also very cautious about for a lot of reasons. But I was also really anticipating this movie. I was cautious because Thor is the first Marvel character to appear in 4 title movies, and that was something that was really surprising to me at first. But then again, Thor Ragnarok was such a good movie that I was really happy to see another Thor movie, surprisingly, with this director as well. It was something that I was really looking forward to. It seemed like they finally got Thor right after two very mixed result movies, I would say. So I was looking forward to this. The trailers looked interesting for the most part. And overall, this movie is fun, but there's a whole lot of issues. So many issues in this movie that are just obvious. And I really can't go into them without spoiling this movie, so I may just do this spoiler-free. Probably do a spoiler review either tomorrow, sometime this week. But let's start off with what I do like, and surprisingly there is a lot in this movie that I do like. First off, there's a lot of performances that are really good. Chris Hemsworth is really good. He's still really funny in this movie. Christian Bale, he's really good in this movie. One of the better Marvel villains in general. Not really one of the best, but definitely a villain that would kind of terrify me, honestly. And I thought he was having a lot of fun with his performance. Russell Crowe was in this movie too. He was a lot of fun for his brief performance. Other actors try to do their best, like Natalie Portman and Tessa Thompson, Taika Waititi, and the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're okay, but I'll dive more into that later on. Also, it does have a lot of, like, some of the overall fun, and it can be as funny as Ragnarok at times. There were moments where I was, like, laughing really hard, and I laughed, so that counts for something, right? Also, the production values, the visuals, they're so impressive, even more impressive than Ragnarok, I would say. I saw this movie twice already, kind of like to get a final thought on this. And visually, it's really impressive, especially seeing it in something like 3D when they get into this other world. That was really impressive to see. The score by Michael Giacchino was really well done. And I do like the cinematography of the movie. It's very interesting as well. A lot of the fights are a lot of fun. And I do like a lot of the things they do talk about in this movie. I also like kind of some of the relationships in this movie are really interesting. This may be the most interesting I've seen Thor and Jane's relationship in a movie. This is not really a spoiler, but it cuts to a flashback of, like, their relationship at one point. And it was probably the best I've seen them, honestly. Also, there's a lot of conversations about gods and, like, you know, how gods can be disappointing and how, you know, how we can become one, and, like, that was really interesting, but that kind of also leads to another problem I have with this movie, and that is a problem with a lot of Marvel movies in general. They have a lot of interesting ideas, but they can only cram so many ideas into one movie that a lot of it kind of just falls flat. And that kind of will just lead into what I don't really care for in this movie. First off, the movie is so tonally inconsistent. Like, Thor Ragnarok kind of struck the tone right with its more comedic tone. This movie just doesn't know what it wants to do. Like, it clearly wants to have that same kind of tone from Thor Ragnarok, but it kind of wants to go darker, particularly with Christian Bale's villain. And it's just kind of jarring at times, kind of like seeing something really dark and then cuts to this scene that's supposed to be lighthearted and fun. It's just kind of odd at times. Like, it was kind of like Doctor Strange 2, where it was just kind of tonally inconsistent. Like, it's just goes straight on horror at times in that movie. Nothing really scary in this movie. Well, I might talk about it in a spoiler. Also, I was really disappointed in some of the characters in this movie. I was disappointed in Mighty Thor. I was disappointed in Valkyrie. I was disappointed in Korg. And I was definitely disappointed in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, and also, I was also kind of a little disappointed with Gore the God Butcher, surprisingly. I won't go into much here, but they waste Valkyrie. Guardians of the Galaxy is just pointless. Gore is Gore the God Butcher. He's really good for for the moment, but like there are so many moments where I realize, wait a minute, he's not doing much, which is disappointing. Korg, it just kind of felt like Taika Waititi was improvising, and when I heard it, it just sounded like, yeah, this is just bad improv, honestly. Like, he's a really good improviser, and this is the best that we got. It just kind of felt annoying to me at times. And I'll go more into Mighty Thor in a spoiler review. Also, I kind of felt mixed about the soundtrack at first. Like, I got annoyed because it just seemed like it was all Guns N' Roses music. Like, they had Sweet Child of Mine, Paradise City, Welcome to the Jungle at one point. And then eventually they stop with all the Guns N' Roses songs and kind of go into other songs. So I kind of felt mixed about the soundtrack overall. And also, my god, the annoying goats. Just because a goat screams, it does not mean it's funny. Like, are we just moving away from fart jokes to screaming goat jokes? I hope not. Please, just stop with these jokes. Just stop. There is one funny joke involving the goats, but that's it. And a lot of the comedy in this movie, it's very blue. I did not expect it to basically go into like I did not expect a lot of sexual jokes in this movie. Okay, in the trailer you do kind of get the hint that you're going to see Chris Hemsworth's behind. But I thought, okay, that was just going to be a joke and it's probably going to be censored in the movie. No, you actually see it. But that's not even the worst of it. Like, you do hear talks about orgies and how babies are made, and it's like, oh, okay, I did not expect that from this movie. Again, it's just so, it's like a lot of great ideas, just so much, there's a lot of great ideas in this movie, they're just not fully developed, which is a lot of Marvel movies these days, like Eternals, Doctor Strange, and apparently there's a 4-hour cut out there somewhere, and honestly, I kind of wouldn't mind seeing that 4-hour cut, because it feels like you could, you know, dive into a lot of these issues more, and I feel like you could have a better, more consistent tone with that movie. Because here, it just kind of feels like it definitely feels like they're trying to capture the spirit of Thor Ragnarok, but at the same time, they want to go beyond that. And it just felt like they really couldn't do that. So, overall, even though a lot of the performances are fun, and a lot of the production values are great, and, you know, some of the interesting conversations they have, also a lot of the relationships are really good in this movie, like, not just between Thor and Jane Foster. Surprisingly, between Thor and Stormbreaker was also kind of funny as well. But again, it's just totally inconsistent. Some characters are just absolutely wasted. Some jokes really don't work, particularly the ones involving the screaming goats. And a lot of the jokes may offend people. They personally didn't offend me. It was more, oh, I'm surprised they're actually doing that. And also, again, a lot of cool ideas and a lot of interesting angles to take, but at the same time, I'm like, no, it just didn't work out. So, overall, right now, I'll give Thor Love and Thunder 2.5 out of 4 stars. Stream it. I'll try to do a spoiler review tomorrow. But, right now, I just want to get some thoughts out there on it. So, what did you think of Thor Love and Thunder? Also, what's your favorite Thor movie? Comment down below. Subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.